The Skoda Kushaq has been making news for quite some time now, and of course it is a very important model for the company because one, it is the first model from the India 2.0 strategy for the group, and also it is a car that has been developed in India, made in India for India specifically. So Skoda is pinning a lot of hopes on this model to turn around its fate in the country, but to do that, it just doesn't have to be a great car. It also has to beat some mighty rivals in the form of Hyundai Creta and Kia Seltos, and if it has to do that, it better be damn good. So is it that good enough? Well, over the next few minutes, that's exactly what we'll find out. In terms of design, the Kushaq is definitely a sharp car. It's got a very dynamic design. It's kind of a busy design and you can see a lot of creases. There's a lot of interplay between the lines, but all of it comes together at the end and what you get is a dynamic looking machine. Of course, the key elements include these headlamps and they've got LED DRLs. You have these fog lamps just beneath the headlamps. You've got a nice grille and the good thing is it's not huge in size. It's just the right size, so it looks good. And of course, then you have this lower part which is again very dynamic. And if you look at the overall side profile, the rear, all of it has a lot of sharp creases. The tail lamp again, the tail lamps clearly stand out from anything else in the segment. And if you look at the side, again, it's got that proper SUV proportions. So yes, it's a good looking vehicle, no doubt. The only big difference, and that is something that will be decided by the consumers, whether it's a positive or negative, is that when you put this up against the likes of the Hyundai Creta or the Kia Seltos, those look bigger and are bigger. This is a tad smaller and it looks a bit smaller. So for people who are looking for an SUV that looks big, well, this doesn't serve that purpose. But if that's not the only thing you're looking for, this is a sharp looking and a very youthful, a handsome design that you can get with the Skoda Kushaq. Step inside the cabin of the Skoda Kushaq and it instantly becomes clear that this is a place where form and function have been combined very smartly. Now, if you look at the dashboard design, it's a very elegant and clean design, and that's something I really like about the vehicle. It's got this nice pattern here, and of course the fitment quality, the material quality too is nice. And one thing that really stands out for me is the steering wheel, because it's got a very unconventional two-spoke design and that gives it a sort of a floating effect, and that looks quite nice. Even the buttons are quite nice on this, so it's got a very nice premium feel to it. If you look at the screen here, you have a 10-inch color touchscreen. It comes with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and using your mobile phone's data or internet services, you can access a lot of connected features. So you can trace your car, you can get a lot of data from the car onto your smartphone. So all of that is possible, but this is not a fully connected car. It does not come with an embedded SIM. But yes, there are a lot of functions you can access. Of course, there's the Skoda App Store, and you can also get free access to apps such as Gaana and navigation apps. And Skoda says they'll keep updating these apps over a period of time. If you look at the instrument cluster, again in line with the overall design, clean and elegant, and it's got this digital screen in between, flanked by conventional clocks on either side for the speedo and the tacho, the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge. The information readout is very nice. It's simple, easy to decipher information. and at the same time it looks quite nice. And speaking further about features, well, Skoda has done a decent job in terms of putting features inside the Kushaq. You've got a wireless charging pad here, and of course it's got a climate control. You've got these very nice seats with good cushioning, good support, and the front seats are ventilated. There's also a sunroof, not a panoramic sunroof, but a normal electrically operated sunroof. So yes, in terms of features, the Skoda Kushaq fares pretty well, and also in terms of practical storage space, well, the door pockets have got a lot of space, and you've got a nice storage space here in the glove box. There are these cup holders here. The driver armrest also gives you access to a good amount of space. So it's a nice feature loaded, comfortable, and a very elegant front that you get inside the cabin. I told you earlier that in terms of length, the Kushaq is smaller than its key rivals, but that doesn't mean that you would be compromising space inside the cabin, and the reason for that is that the Kushaq has one of the longest wheelbases in its segment. As a result of that, the space inside the cabin is quite nice, and right now I have the driver's seat adjusted to my driving preference. I'm 5 feet 8 inches for reference, and you can see the good amount of space that I have at my disposal. I've got good leg room, I've got lots of knee room, and the headroom is also quite nice, and that's because the Kushaq does not have a sloping roof line. So that ways even your headroom is not compromised at all. The one limiting factor though which I find in the rear is the fact that the design here has been given in such a way that there is a certain pocket or a certain space inside which you can place your feet. You cannot widen the stance anymore, and that could be a bit uncomfortable over long journeys. So that's a bit hard for me to understand why it is that way, because it's usually not like this in most vehicles. But that said, the seat itself is quite nice. It's got good cushioning, the backrest angle and support is nice, and because of the relatively flat floor here and the design of the seat itself, you can seat 3 adults here in relatively good comfort. There's also this armrest. It's a cushion armrest with dual cup holders, and you have these rear AC vents and dual Type-C charging points. Space in the door pockets is also quite nice. So overall, yes, it's a spacious and comfortable place to be in, and of course, as a overall cabin, I think the Kushaq scores pretty well, if not the best in the segment. In terms of boot space, the Skoda Kushaq offers 385 liters of volume, and that means it's not the largest boot in its segment. But if you look at the overall design, it's an optimized design, and as a result of that, you can put in a lot of stuff. Our overnight luggage and the entire camera equipment is in it, and it's easily gone inside and leaves us with space for a lot more. So yes, your weekend getaways and airport runs shouldn't be a problem with the Kushaq. Now before we go ahead and start telling you about the performance of the Kushaq, well, if you are liking this video, then please hit that subscribe button and please share it as well, and do not forget to press that bell icon so you can stay updated to all our forthcoming videos. So by now we've established that, well, despite whatever strengths the Kushaq has, well, it is not the biggest car in its segment, it's not the longest, it's also not the most feature-loaded vehicle in the segment, its boot is also not the largest. So, well, things don't look to be running too good for the Kushaq. But just when you start thinking that, well, that is the time when the Kushaq pulls up an ace from its sleeve. Because once you start driving it, then you realize that this is an area where the Kushaq is undoubtedly the best in the segment right now. Now, what really works in the Kushaq's favor is that it's a Skoda Volkswagen car, and that's why it drives so well. The dynamics are really impressive. Now, let's talk about the powertrain first. Well, in terms of powertrain, what you have is two engines, a petrol engine and a petrol engine, because there is no diesel engine sadly. And well, that is a bit of a downer because customers do like diesels, but well, since that's not there, let's not talk about it much. With the 1.5 liter TSI engine that we're driving right now, you get about 150 PS of power, which is really nice. I mean, if you are someone who loves driving, who wants to have a car that you can enjoy driving, well, this is the engine you need to go for. It's got a nice 250 Newton meters of torque. So yes, it also compensates that torque factor that usually people associate with diesel. It's got good low end grunt. Takes some time to get going, but once you get close to or past 2000 rpm, well, that's when the engine gets into its own element, and get past 3000 and well, you get a strong surge of acceleration thereon. Tapers off at about 5500 rpm, and if you are shifting manually using these paddle shifters, well, that is the time when you should upshift. In terms of refinement also, the engine is very impressive. No unwanted sound filters inside the cabin. The NVH insulation is nice. Even the tire roll sound is quite controlled. So yes, in that respect, a good fun to drive car. In terms of gearbox, well, you get the option of manual and DSG. If you go in for the 1.5 liter top variant, you can opt for a DSG, which is the one we're driving right now. Well, DSG being DSG, the performance is good, and it gives you quick upshifts and downshifts. And if you opt for the other variant, that's the other engine, you get a 1 liter petrol engine, and that is an engine that is also being made in India. The 1.5 liter is imported. The rest of the car is made here. The 1 liter engine is made in India, and with that you have the option of a manual gearbox or a conventional torque converter automatic. The DSG is only for the 1.5 liter version. So, well, we have not driven the 1 liter version, so I can't tell you about the performance there, but the 1.5 I can tell you is very impressive. It's a well-rounded performer, good in terms of acceleration. It's again nice to drive, gives you good control. The gearbox performs very nice, and when you put that together with the dynamics of this car, I mean, the Kushaq has got very good ride and handling. So it handles very nicely. It takes corners with a lot of confidence, and you can go in a corner at a very rapid pace, and still, I mean, the car does not lose control easily. Even the body roll is quite controlled, and straight line stability, will no complaints at all. Braking is good. And the steering feedback, well, that's also nice, and that's the reason why I'm saying, if you are someone who loves driving, well, the Kushaq is the best that you can get in the segment right now. And now it's time to answer the main question. Is the Skoda Kushaq good enough to be a success, the kind of success that Skoda is hoping, or not? Well, a lot depends on the pricing. So now that the prices for the Skoda Kushaq are out, well, all I can say is that after all these focus on India and the strategy 2.0, the Kushaq seems a bit overpriced. And that is because, one, the Kushaq has evident cost cutting inside the cabin. If you look at the resolution of the rear camera, the quality inside, it doesn't really feel like a premium Skoda product. And despite that, it is priced at par with rivals that have loads more of features. Yes, of course, it is the best driving package. It's the most fun to drive car, but it remains a bit overpriced. And as long as Skoda can correct that, the Kushaq undoubtedly is a good contender in this space, and especially if you are someone who loves to drive, it is pretty much the best pick you can have right now.